Alright folks, today we're going to talk about backup flashlights for police and security work, and specifically about two backup flashlights I recently received from ThorFire, the PF04 and the PF01S. We're going to look at how they perform against a very simple test for police flashlights that I think is very pertinent to the work we do on the street. Stick around. Alright man, take a seat, buckle up. Ordinarily we'd start with orientation of the car here, but we got calls pending and we got to get to them. So we're rolling. We're gonna have to learn on the way. All right, today what I'm going to be doing is comparing the ThorFire models that I was sent with the flashlights that I'm currently using, specifically the Streamlight Stinger LED, which is my duty flashlight, and then I have a Energizer 1AA, which is the backup flashlight I currently use. You can see both of those in the video that I did about my duty belt and a bunch of other videos where I mentioned these lights or showed them on film. Since those are what I use, I like to compare any backup flashlights or new duty lights to the ones that I have experience with, and then I think they make a good standard of measure to show people what a new light will do in comparison with what has already been on the market and kind of the price ranges that they run at. So the first thing you might notice about these is that they run on AAAs instead of AAs, like the flashlight that I'm currently using as a backup light, and they aren't cradle rechargeable like a duty light. Now, like I've said before, I think a duty light should be cradle rechargeable. It has to be rechargeable in my book one way or the other because you're going to get so much use out of it. But a backup light doesn't necessarily need to be a rechargeable light because we use it so little. The lights I'm using now, I'm only replacing AAs about once a year on because I'm only really using that backup light when my duty light goes out. What's important with a backup light is that it be able to do in some way most of the stuff that the duty light can do, and that it's ready and available when I need it, and that it's got enough throw and punch and light to get the job done for a short period of time until I can get the duty light put back up into a charging cradle and get it back onto my belt where it's supposed to be at. Also, for off-duty, I want the light to be able to do 90% of the stuff that my duty light would do, so I have the same capabilities off-duty that I have on-duty, if only for a short period of time. We're not anticipating that an off-duty light is going to work, or an EDC light is going to work for as long a runtime as a duty light would work, and we're not going to necessarily assume that something that's a AAA battery, little off-duty light or EDC light is going to have the same throw and punch that something with a huge bezel is going to have. But we wanted to do a lot of the same up-close options. We wanted to be able to work when we needed to work for most of the tasks. So the task that I picked for these, which I think is most pertinent to a backup light or an EDC light, is punching through tinted glass. So I went and found a car and I shined all 4 flashlights through the tinted glass to show what you can anticipate if you go to reach for your duty light out on the street and it doesn't work when you go to shine it through the window of the car and you have to switch to your backup light, which I find myself having to do more often than I really should. So I'm going to roll that in here, and the first light you're going to see is my backup light that I'm currently using. It doesn't really punch through window glass very well. It's rated at 80 to 100 lumens. They don't really nail down exactly how much, and I've noticed that it changes dependent upon the battery. If I use alkalines, it looks a little dimmer. If I use lithiums, it looks a little brighter. I try to give everything the best shot that I can, so I loaded lithiums into all of the replaceable battery flashlights that we're looking at today. So the first shot is the AA Energizer, and you can see that just kind of puts a little bit of glow into the car. And then the second shot that we have is from the PF01S from ThorFire. That put a little bit more light in the car. It doesn't have a lot of throw and punch like you would expect from a duty light, but it's enough to just kind of see if someone's in the back seat. The next shot through the window glass is from the PF04, and the PF04 you can see lights up the whole interior of the car but doesn't create a spot of light that you can see really clearly what's in any one spot. It will work for looking in the car, getting a general idea of what's going on in the car, and it also has the advantage of lighting up a large area of the car where you can see and make sure there aren't any threats. Unlike the next light that you're going to see, which is my duty light, which creates an intense spot in one location where you can see really well what's there, but not a whole lot of glow inside the car. So that's kind of what you can expect with the lights. The big advantage that these two have over the backup light that I'm currently using, and with a lot of other backup lights, is that they do run on AAA batteries. The PF01S runs on a single AAA battery, runs at about 100 lumens, and the ThorFire PF04 that we have here runs on 2 AAA batteries. This one puts out 210 lumens, which is about the same lumen rating that my duty flashlight is currently putting out, the Streamlight, but it's doing it in more of a flood manner, so you could use it more inside a house, inside a tent, inside a car, that type of thing. They also have options to turn the light down. So your first option is, you can see that it's just kind of a moonlight mode. You can't even see it on the table, so that would be good for reading something small in the car at night, or just trying to look under a seat really quick. And then there's medium mode, which puts out about 50 lumens. You can see right here. And then there's high mode. Now I leave mine clicked on the high, so that way when I shut it off and turn it back on, I always get high, because realistically, for a backup light on patrol, that's what I'm gonna want most of the time. The PF01S is smaller. It's about the same length as my AA flashlight, but it's a lot thinner, which means that you might be able to keep this in the pocket of a dress shirt if you have the more dressy style uniform, or you could throw it into a pants pocket a lot easier than a normal size flashlight. This one has the same system for moonlight mode, and then medium, and then high. So what you do to switch the modes is you click it on, and then you can half press between modes. So we get high, moonlight, medium, high, moonlight. So if you set it to a particular mode, when you fire it back up, it's going to be back on the mode you last left it at. So if you last left it at high, when you turn it back on, it's going to be at high. If you last left it at medium, when you turn it back on, it's going to be at medium. I find that's a big advantage, so I'm not clicking through modes trying to get the high mode that I'm always looking for. And when I get my high mode, if I'm using the light, if I suddenly have to go and look for, let's say, shell casings on the ground, and I don't need that super high mode, I can always then click it down to my medium mode. And that way it works an awful lot like a duty light, and that's why I like it for backup. You guys should check them out. I've been using them for a couple of weeks since I got them in, and I've been throwing this one in my jacket where I used to keep my other little light, and I've been throwing this one on my vest because it's a huge upgrade from the AA battery flashlight that I was using for really not a whole lot more, less than $10 more. So ThorFire, the link is in the description down below. Until next week, you guys be safe and take care of each other. I'd like to thank all the Patreon supporters, and especially the shift supervisor level Patreon supporters that we have listed here. Your contributions are what allows free field training to continue on and become better. Thank you. Well, if you like that video, go ahead and subscribe, because there's a whole lot more to come. As soon as I finish up these calls, go 10-8. County 291. 291.